All right, let's dive into a really fascinating thought experiment. What if two people from completely opposite ends of the political spectrum, like Donald Trump and Zohran Mamdani, actually sat down and talked? The goal here isn't to pick a winner, not at all. It's to try and understand the deep, fundamental tensions that seem to be pulling us all apart.
Okay, so right up front, let's be super clear about something. This conversation never actually happened. What we're looking at is a creative piece, a fictional dialogue. Think of it as a way to get past the usual shouting matches and sound bites and get right to the heart of what we're all really arguing about.
And this quote, man, it just nails it, doesn't it? It perfectly sets the stage. In a world where it feels like the loudest, most outraged voice wins, this thought experiment is trying to do the exact opposite. It's trying to tune out the noise and just see, is there any common ground, any shared humanity between two people who seem to be from different planets?
So where does this whole imaginary conversation start? Well, it kicks off with a big one, a classic tension that every society in history has had to wrestle with, the tug-of-war between order and compassion. The source actually calls this the paradox of civilization.
I mean, think about it. How do you balance these two? If you lean too far into order, you get tyranny. But if you lean too far into compassion, you risk total chaos. It's a real tightrope walk, right? And that's the first huge question they dive into.
What's so revealing here is how it lays out two completely different ways of looking at the world. On one side, you have this idea that law and stability have to come first, no matter what. That compassion is almost a luxury, something you can afford only when you're strong. And on the other side, the view that real, lasting order can only be built on a foundation of compassion, that if you don't address people's desperation, you'll never have stability.
And this is where it gets really interesting. The dialogue suggests it's not an either-or choice. It's not a simple question of picking a side. A healthy society needs both. It's this constant, really difficult balancing act. And maybe the reason it's so hard is that our instincts always push us to just pick a team, instead of holding these two ideas in tension. All right, so from there, the conversation naturally shifts. It moves from how we govern to something that affects every single one of us in our daily lives, our jobs, our ambitions, the whole conflict between freedom and fairness.
This is a real puzzle, isn't it? It's a paradox that's at the absolute heart of so many of our political debates today. So which is more important? The freedom for someone to achieve incredible success, even if it creates huge gaps between the rich and poor, or a fair system that makes sure everyone has a basic safety net, even if that means putting a ceiling on how high someone can fly.
And boom, there they are again. Two totally opposing worldviews. One side says freedom is the engine that drives everything. You have to celebrate success, not punish it, or you kill the motivation to be great. But the other side argues that, look, for someone trapped by their circumstances, the word freedom is pretty meaningless. For them, real freedom only begins when the system is fair.
So what's the big takeaway here? The dialogue suggests that if either one of these principles completely takes over, the whole system collapses. A society that's only about freedom becomes cruel and unjust, but a society that's only about fairness can become stagnant and, well, lifeless. The trick is to keep them in this dynamic, productive tension. And that's tough because one promises individual glory and the other promises collective security. And let's be honest, those are both things we deeply desire.
So this tension, it keeps expanding. It goes from the individual to the economy, and now it expands outward to the nation itself. And this raises these huge fundamental questions about who we are and what we owe to the people outside our group.
Wow. That is such a powerful and deeply human question. How do we build a sense of community, a love for our own country and our own people, without letting that love sour into fear or even hatred of everyone else? I love the way this is framed. You've got these two competing metaphors for what a nation is. Is it a house with walls that you have to protect to keep your family safe inside? Or is it more like a promise, a covenant, that actually gets stronger and more itself by welcoming new people in? One is all about security and identity. The other is about openness and care. So, the synthesis here tries to find that middle path. It's not about no borders versus impenetrable walls. It's about finding something smarter, something more humane. A boundary that can protect a nation's identity and security while still recognizing the humanity of people on the other side. But wow, is that a tough needle to thread, right? It's so much easier to just scream for one extreme or the other.
Okay, so we've walked through these massive disagreements. We've seen these clashing worldviews. Where does that leave us?
What's the ultimate point of this whole thought experiment? Well, the source suggests the most important lesson isn't about which side wins. It's found in the space between them.
So let's just quickly recap. We've seen the constant struggle between order and compassion in how we govern. We've looked at the conflict between freedom and fairness in our economy, and we've touched on the balance between security and openness in how we even define ourselves as a nation.
But the dialogue doesn't just stop at policy. It pushes past all that to something much, much more personal, something that gets right to the soul of what it means to lead. It suggests the hardest part of having power isn't about the decisions you make.
And there it is, the ultimate test. It's not about what you build or the laws you pass. It's about your character. It's about whether that immense pressure of power makes you wiser and more humble and more human, or if it just corrodes you from the inside out.
And so that leaves us with this final, really challenging question. The thought experiment suggests that real progress doesn't come from one side crushing the other. It comes from finding the courage to step into that uncomfortable, messy space between our deepest beliefs, to actually listen, and maybe, just maybe, find a scrap of shared truth. The only question left is, are we brave enough to do it?